Why is Dallas Willard such an example to draw from, and why is he important to this conversation?
For so many reasons. I mean, the first is just personal. He just dramatically influenced my life. When uh, I met my first meeting when I started working at the White House was my first meeting with an external stakeholder was with Gary Haugen. Gary Haugen is the CEO of International Justice Mission. Uh, and after that meeting, Gary sent me The Divine Conspiracy, and I'd never heard of Willard before. Uh, and honestly, I thought it was kind of a cruel joke because Divine Conspiracy is a pretty dense read for ostensibly a trade book. It's not an academic publisher. And I thought, what are you what are you doing sending this to me? I'm working 14, 16 hours a day. Don't have time for this. But my pastor back in Buffalo uh, recommended the book in a little blog post, and I thought, okay, if my pastor back home is recommending it and Gary sent it to me, I better read it. And it changed my life. It was like a second spiritual awakening in my life. And so pers- it shaped my how I view the world, my work, and my personal life. Just my wife and I have just made a lot of decisions flowing from Dallas's teaching of scripture and the kingdom. And so that would be the first thing. The second thing, Willard is someone who was active in teaching in the 80s and the 90s and the first decade of the aughts. There's not a serious scandal to his name. There's not a period of time where he traded in his authority as a Christian teacher for sort of cultural or political cachet. He is someone who was not perfect. The last thing Dallas would have ever wanted, and he was very clear about this, is sort of like Willard sort of he wanted to introduce and bring people to Jesus. But it is uh, he is someone in a time of such cynicism and a time in which I think a lot of young people in particular are asking, does anyone really believe this stuff? Is this all just a cultural power play? Christianity, all of it. Uh, Dallas is someone whose life provides evidence that there really is a there. And that was important to me. I came to faith as a 15-year-old after reading Romans, and that was a principal sort of question I had. And I think it's critical culturally. The last thing I'll say, and I'll be quick here, is Dallas's teaching, I think, and his ideas had really profound social implications. And if you dig like deep into his writing, his essays, um, well, actually, I shouldn't say you need to dig too deep. If you just read with an attentiveness, you'll see him gesture towards the social and even the political. Um, but uh, it's helpful to put. I found it to be helpful to put uh, Dallas's ideas um, in conversation um, because he wasn't a player in partisan debates. There's not a he as a person is not readily offensive to the left or the right or and so there is a way in which um, uh, uh, his ideas uh, are consistent with the aims of the book.
Hmm. And you have him all over the book.
Very openly. I mean, the book is an application of Dallas Willard's ideas to politics and public life. And by the way, just real quickly, I should have said this at the beginning. Willard, professor of philosophy, University of Southern California, was there for almost 50 years. At times, he was a chair of the department. He also was a Christian pastor, teacher. author. He wrote The Divine Conspiracy. He also wrote Spirit of the Disciplines, Renovation of the Heart, The Allure of Gentleness, Knowing Christ Today, and then, as I mentioned, Disappearance of Moral Knowledge. And many of the chapters of this book are oriented specifically around particular books or chapters of books that he wrote.